Hello everyone, this is Isaiah with StopListing.com, and we're going to be talking with Retro Aficionado. How are you doing today, Retro?
Good, man. I appreciate you having me on the show, Isaiah.
It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
So for those who don't know, Retro Aficionado is someone who's an avid reseller, and what you might also not know is that he's also sort of a renowned traveler. And what we're going to be talking with, our first topic of the day, is asking Retro, how did you get started into reselling?
Let's see. Oh, man. Well, I actually started back in 1987, man. I was 15 years old. I started off selling sports cards, football cards, baseball cards, basketball cards, and then, I was also a comic book collector, so I started selling those. I was collecting those, and I started selling them, and, growing up, my parents had a business right across the street from the flea market, so every Saturday I would go to the flea market with a binder in my hand and just walk around, and, if I saw some dealers, I would approach them and try and sell it to them, and, on certain weekends I would actually get a booth myself, so that's pretty much how I started.
It's pretty interesting. So getting into reselling sort of at an early age, has that affected the way that you approach reselling, later on?
Oh, absolutely. Because back then we didn't have the smartphones. eBay was obviously a lot different back when I started, which was in '98. It's a completely different game now. It's much easier. Back then, you pretty much had to be very well educated. These days, if you don't know something, you can always look at the completed listings on eBay. It's a completely different game. It's much easier, it's not even. There's no comparison these days.
I understand. Yeah. So one of the things that I want to talk about is sort of your foray into eBay, and so from what I've seen, you're sort of gifted in many different respects. So you're also somewhat of a programmer, somewhat of an avid techie. And so can you talk about how you got started sort of, programming or, working online with people, helping them?
Yeah, let's see, gosh, I was introduced to graphic design back in high school, and I knew that was something that I wanted to get into. And then, to make a long story short, I went from a graphic designer, and then I kind of evolved into more like a web designer, a programmer. I like to call myself also, instead of just a retro aficionado, I also call myself the WordPress aficionado, because I'm very well educated in WordPress and how to use WordPress. So so it kind of evolved from high school, from graphic design, and then just kind of evolved into more programming and web development.
I understand. So with graphic design, I noticed that you do a lot of graphic design, and you just talked about doing WordPress. So have you been able to incorporate those skills into your to your stores, to your online stores?
You mean my online stores?
Yeah. Have you been able to incorporate the graphic design skills and?
Oh yeah. I don't as much as you think I would, but there's certain times when I'll take a picture of something that I list on eBay or something, and if something doesn't look right, I might bring that Photoshop into I might bring that picture into Photoshop, and I might tweak it a little. I've done that a few times, but not much. Usually, the stuff that I list is, it's just pretty much I just take the picture and I post it. But I've done it in the past.
I understand. So it's really interesting and really important that you taking quality photos really does sell the listing. And so in that regard, and the topic of eBay, you talk about how you're more Amazon heavy, top heavy than you are eBay now.
Yeah.
How has Amazon FBA been for you?
It's been, it's pretty much, I mean, I'm not going to say it's my primary income because I do have a day job, but I would say it's my secondary income. It's doing really good for me. It's, you know, it's one of those things where I go out and source the products, send it into the Amazon warehouses, and pretty much Amazon would take care of everything. And I don't really have to do much, you know, other than package the items up and send it off. And you know, so yeah, I mean, Amazon's doing really good for me. I mean, you know, like any other business, you know, I have a good week, a bad week, a good month, a bad month. But you know, at the same time, you know, I've said this in the past, I am trying to get back into eBay more. I'm trying to scale my eBay store more, so I can, you know, I just think that's, you know, eBay is really fun. You know, that's what I started off doing, so I kind of want to get back into that more.
I see. So a lot of resellers have a lot of questions about FBA. Some of them are avidly using FBA like you are, and other people are sort of on the fence. And one of the questions that they have is more about feedback and, you know, sort of shipping and returns. So for the first part, can you address feedback and returns for Amazon FBA? How does that work?
Oh, sorry, say that again?
So for many resellers, they sort of have concerns about feedback from Amazon FBA buyers.
Yeah. So the feedbacks, you know, so Amazon isn't like eBay where you know, eBay is very feedback heavy. Amazon isn't like that. You know, Amazon themselves will actually send the buyer an email and say, hey, please, if you like your product, please review it and leave feedback. But they don't. I really discourage the sellers contacting the buyer and asking them to leave a feedback, because it's a completely different market, and Amazon buyers, they don't want to be disturbed with stuff like that. You know, getting a message from the seller and asking, you know, will you please leave me feedback? It's just one of those things where, you know, you just sell your products, and then if the customer leaves you a feedback, that's great, and if it doesn't, you just move on.
I understand. So how do you personally deal with customer returns?
You know, I have no problem with it, and the reason being is because, well, first of all, if you sell on Amazon, you have to accept returns. There's no ifs or buts about it. If you want to sell on Amazon FBA, you have to accept returns. And me personally, that's not a big issue. I would say maybe 1 or 2% of all sales I get returns, and that's a small number. And you know, one thing I tell people also is, you know, when you get returns, you know, I hear, and this is both eBay and Amazon, you know, I hear people say, oh, you know, I just lost a $50 sale, you know, because that customer returned the item. But technically, he didn't lose the $50 sale, because if you source something for $4 and sold it for $50, technically they only lost $4,
True.
Right?
Right.
So take the loss of that $4 or $5, whatever it is, and just move on.
Makes sense. And so, still on the subject of Amazon FBA. So a lot of people, they have issues with shipping and sort of managing, you know, the label system for the packaging. So how do you go about that?
It's actually gotten a lot easier. So first of all, Amazon has a partnership with UPS now, where when you send in your products to the Amazon warehouses using UPS, it's ridiculously cheap. I think just to kind of give you like an example of how cheap it is. I think in the past I've shipped like a 30-pound box full of books for like $7 or $8. It's ridiculously cheap, and it's gotten easier in the sense, about 4 or 5 months ago, like when you shipped in your packages to the warehouses, it was required that you had to put in what do you call it? It was like basically you had to print out a slip, put it into the box with your products. You no longer have to do that anymore. So that's, you know, all you got to do now is just package up your items, tape it up, slap a label on it, and just take it to the UPS store or have UPS come and pick them up.
So for a eBay seller who's currently top heavy in eBay and sort of wants to transition into Amazon FBA, which is currently what a lot of resellers are going through right now, what would you suggest to them to help them in the transition?
Well, so yeah, I get a lot of questions, and there's a lot of concerns with people who do eBay, and they say, oh, I heard Amazon FBA has a lot of strict rules and regulations, and that's just something that I don't want to get into because it makes me nervous. First of all, it's free. It's free to register. So even if you're nervous, at least register. That's the best you can do, right? At least just go to Amazon's Amazon FBA's website and just register. Even if you're not going to do it, even if you're just kind of tempted, just go register. It's free. And then there's really nothing to be nervous about. I mean, there's just so much resource out there. It's so easy. I mean, I think, yeah, Amazon does have a little more rules and regulations compared to eBay, but I mean, I don't know what the big fuss is about. It's so simple. As long as you follow those directions, and even if you make a mistake, it's not like they're just gonna kick you off. I mean, they'll give you like a warning, say, hey, you did this, just make sure, be careful, then you don't do that anymore.
Right. And so, a lot of people they're sort of going through this transition, and one of the parts of the transition are the boxes and mainly the shipping. So they start loading their items into the boxes, and it becomes heavy, maybe over 50 pounds or around that. And so if you have several of those boxes, how do you manage getting those boxes to sort of the UPS store or getting them taken care of? How do you manage that?
Yeah. Well, me personally, I like taking the boxes to the UPS store only because it's just, I enjoy doing it. I enjoy driving to the store and just dropping them off. But you can technically call 1-800-UPS and have them come pick it up for a fee. And I think that fee is about 10 or 12 bucks. I don't quite remember. I haven't done it in a long time. But for about 10 or 15 bucks, I think you can have them come and pick them up.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so in reselling, we happen to come upon a lot of items while thrifting or going to garage sales or yard sales or estate sales. After handling so many different items, has it sort of shifted your perspective on what it means to own something?
What needs to what?
What it means to own something?
It's funny that you asked that because when I was younger, when I was in my 20s and even my 30s, man, I always wanted the brand names and just the fine stuff. But as I got more and more into reselling on a serious level, I realized first of all, you don't need stuff like that. They're a waste of money. And if you do want something nice, I go to a thrift store just like any other reseller, and I'll just buy something that I like. So yeah, I mean, it changed my perspective on stuff that I own.
While reselling, have you found anything that has been sort of memorable for you?
Oh gosh, what's the most memorable thing that I found? I found a bunch of stuff. Just recently I found like this huge Budweiser Clydesdale carousel lamp, which is I can probably get about 900 bucks for it. I think it's just awesome. It has it's very vintage, and it was finely crafted, and that's just if that really stands out. I mean, I can give you a long list, like certain clothing, like there's a brand that I really like called Willis and Tiger, finely crafted outdoors clothing. And every time I find those, it's just it's like, man, should I keep this or should I get rid of it? It's I mean, the list I can go on and on.
Right, and on that subject, a lot of resellers as they're going through these items, they sort of build a database, if you will, of images and logos and brands. If you're a new reseller just starting out, what is the easiest way to go about building that database in your mind or on paper?
If you're starting out, well, first of all, it just depends on what channel, right? I mean, are you going to sell on eBay? Are you going to sell on Amazon, Craigslist? So it just really depends. But in general, I would just say get like an Excel spreadsheet, or you can even use a Google Doc these days, which is completely free. And just keep, and you don't have to be very accurate, but just kind of keep an inventory of what you have, how much you bought it for, what you want to get for it, and then what you sold it for. And that way you can kind of figure out, okay, well, I sold it for more than what I was asking, or, I sold it for less than what I was asking, and that kind of gives you an idea of what the item goes for in the near future, if you were to ever source it again.
Sounds good. So, on the topic of new sellers, sometimes they'll buy items that sort of aren't on the mark, and so they'll be super long tail, and it takes forever to get sold. So, what is your sort of limit on the shelf space time for items?
Well, for eBay, I usually wait about a year. And then if something hasn't sold within a year, I'll either lower the price, or I'll maybe reevaluate exactly what the item is, and if I think it's no longer valuable, I'll just take it back to the Goodwill or something. On Amazon FBA, I mean, I'll have an item in there for years. It could be 2, 3, 4, 5 years, because the storage fee on most items is just dirt cheap. It's like a penny a month. So so Amazon FBA I don't really worry about. It's more eBay, because eBay is different, because in the sense that inventory is sitting in my house, right? It's taking up space, and it's been sitting here for a year, and if it hasn't sold, then I need to really evaluate what I want to do with it.
I understand. And so, sort of going on in another topic here, one of the things that you really seem to enjoy is going thrifting, going garage sale hunting and picking. So, why are you going on garage sale hunts? What do you find that sort of really thrills you? That sort of makes it worthwhile when you go?
Well, first of all, I really like going to garage sales, because I like interacting with people. I like bargaining with people. And I've always said this in the past, like when you're out there sourcing, and especially at garage sales, because there's a lot of interaction, right? Because you're bargaining with the guy, saying, hey, can I get this for $2 less? I always tell people, be polite, be courteous, because I'm telling you that always pays off.
Yeah.
Always.
All right, so on another topic here, you're an avid traveler, and so you've been blessed to travel to many different places around the world.
Oh yeah.
And so, can you tell us a little bit about that and how it sort of played into your overall perspective of life?
Yeah. So you done some research, obviously. Yeah. I've been very fortunate to have traveled to places that most people just dream about. Just to name a few, I've been to Thailand, Taiwan, the Philippines, Mexico, Canada, and obviously, domestic trips. Love traveling, one of my passions, and one of the reasons why I got into reselling. But it's just one of those things where especially with my international trips, like I love to experience different cultures, and it's just a good way to just sometimes just get away from the daily grind, go somewhere and experience not just a different culture but a different lifestyle, and you get to really appreciate just humanity in general. There's just so much to experience out there, and it's just and I come back home from from these trips, and I'm just like, I admit sometimes I just think about moving out of the country and just starting over. But realistically, I know my life is here in the States, but it really does humble you in a lot of ways.
So it sort of reinvigorates you?
Oh yeah, absolutely, and and not just that, but you also get to, like I said, for instance, one of the places that I've been to is, again, like I mentioned, Thailand and the Philippines. Those are pretty poor countries, and when I've gone, these people are probably making, $2-3 a day. I mean, they're not making nothing compared to what we make here in the States. And yet I see how happy they are. They don't complain. They're out there working, and it's like, why are we in the States always just angry and depressed about our life? And yet, here I am in the Philippines, and I meet someone who's making $2-3 a day working in the fields, and the guy's just happy. And like I said, I come back, and it just really, really makes me think about how we live, and that we should just really, really appreciate what we have, because compared to someone else, we have a lot.
Yes, we do. We're really blessed, and so
we're very blessed. Yes.
Yeah. And so Amazon FBA is sort of semi-autopiloting, business, for resellers. And so, how does that play into you scheduling time enough to travel and going to different places?
Well, so that's the good thing about Amazon FBA is unlike eBay, you don't have to be home or in your office to send off your products when they sell, right? Like the most recent trip that I took was back in July when I went to Austin, Texas, and the whole time I was there, I was making money, right? And I don't want to confuse people. I mean, it's not passive. This isn't passive income. You do have to work at it, but the beauty of it is when you do have a good amount of inventory in the Amazon FBA warehouses, you can afford to take a week or two off from your daily grind, from sourcing your inventory, and you can still make money doing it, traveling. That's the beauty of the whole business model.
So it sort of enables you to live the life that you want while still getting income. Is what you're saying?
Absolutely. And you know what? And doing Amazon FBA just wants, it makes me want to travel more, right? Because now I have this this business model where Amazon ships off my inventory. Now I have the freedom to go travel if I want to. I mean, granted, I do have the day job, but if I was just doing Amazon FBA, oh my gosh, I mean, the freedom that I have to travel, I would do it more.
I see. So, one question that's sort of a personal question: how do you save enough? How do you sort of budget your money so that you can, do things like travel? Because it's one of the things that a lot of resellers would love to do, but they're just sort of just trying to make ends meet or get their rent paid and things.
That's a very broad topic, right? I mean, it really depends on the individual and his or her financial situation. Right. I'll tell you from my own personal situation. I don't. We actually had this topic in the green room hangout the other day. About being a frugal hustler. Like, I don't go out and buy a lot of stuff. I mean, the clothes that I wear, I've had for years, right? And then, and if I do need some new clothing, I go to the typical thrift stores and I'll buy something that I need. I mean, there's certain things that I won't buy from a thrift store, right. But like a lot of my clothing does come from the thrift stores, and sometimes I do want the new nice items, and I'll treat myself to that. But I'm frugal in the sense that I don't like to go out as much. I don't spend money on senseless things like going to bars a lot and stuff like that. I like to do more. I like to do more stuff that involves being outdoors and just enjoying myself. Going out and blowing your money is just, doesn't make sense. I've done that when I was much younger, and it's something that I don't want to do anymore.
I understand. So, what sort of advice would you give to someone who's just starting out today, who's not sure where to go or what to do?
If someone's just starting out, the first thing I would say is you gotta have, even if you have $50, I will guarantee him or her that they can easily double that money. Go to your local thrift stores, and if you can, wake up early Saturday morning, go hit up the garage sales, and find items to sell on eBay. And I'm not just saying just any items. I mean, obviously they got to do their research. They have to do their due diligence and know what products can sell. But I mean, just to kind of give you an example, I mean, you can go out and source a T-shirt for $1 and sell it for $16, which is something that I've done like last month, right? So the best thing to do is do your research, know what products will sell, and you don't even have to spend that much money. But if you can double your dollar or even triple it, 2-3 months from now, if you're really consistent with that, you're gonna see your income just grow and grow and grow, guaranteed. You just have to be consistent, not give up, and so I know a lot of beginners get really frustrated, and that's understandable. I was in the same boat, but they can't stop, they can't give up, just keep going out and sourcing.
That's good advice. So on the subject of sort of seller education, I noticed that you recently mentioned the green room, and so for the benefit of those who don't know what the green room is, could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, that is a paid Facebook group that I run with the Bonafide Hustler, the College Picker, and Raking Profit. We do charge people $100 a year, which comes out to about $8.33 a month. But there's a lot of information in there provided by not just the admins that I just mentioned, but also the members provide a lot of good information as far as what to buy, what to look out for. We're all learning from each other, and that's the beauty of this whole group. And I've never, I don't like to call myself an expert, but my gosh, even me, for someone who's been doing this for a long time, I learn something new every day. It's a great community, and I recommend people joining. And I know for some people, $100, that might seem a lot, but it does pay off eventually.
I see. So a lot of wisdom can sort of be gained by not only having experienced sellers such as yourself, Raking Profit, Bonafide Hustler, and the College Picker in there, but you're also saying that the community of other resellers sort of fortify the education?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I can't disclose with some of the items that people posted, but oh my gosh, I learn something new almost every day.
I see. And so let me ask you another question here. So, where do you see yourself and your business sort of 5 years from now?
You said 5 years from now?
Yes.
Oh gosh, well, my goal is to eventually, I would love to quit my day job. Not because I don't like it. I guess I'm one of the few exceptions where I actually love my day job. I have a boss who is more like a mother figure. I don't even consider her like a boss. She's more like a mother figure. She knows what I do on the side. She knows that I'm a reseller. But with that said, 5 years from now, I would love to just walk away from that job and do this full time. And I think I'm going to get there eventually, sooner or later. I'm really pushing for that goal right now. So that's where I think I'm going to be in 5 years.
I'm sure you'll achieve it. And you know, you've really given a lot of information throughout the green room sessions. You know, sort of the videos that you've put out there on YouTube, along with the other three sellers. And a lot of people sort of gotten to know you through those sessions.
Yeah.
One of the things that we'd like to ask, that we would like to ask you is sort of like, what are the books that have inspired you, and what are the books and people who have sort of, you know, made you fundamentally who you are?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna be honest. I haven't read much books, so I can't even throw out a title to you. Um, but some of the people. I mean, I listen to a lot of Dave Ramsey. I listen to his. Well, I don't listen to, but I watch his YouTube channel on occasion. And a lot of my inspiration really just comes from personal family and friends. I don't watch a lot of television. I don't watch a lot of videos and stuff like that. I mean, even College Picker and all those guys, Bonafide Hustler and Rake, and they give me a hard time all the, because I don't do videos hardly, right? They're like, oh man, you got to get on YouTube, but that's not something that I'm really into. So with that said, I mean, a lot of my inspiration comes from my parents, certain friends that I know are, who had worked hard and achieved their goals and dreams, and those are my inspirations.
So on the last subject of inspiration, what final words of advice would you give to resellers in the community?
The best advice I can give is don't make excuses. And this is something that I talked about in previous green room hangouts. And to make a long answer short, I had friends approach me and say, hey, will you teach me how to resell, because I need that extra income. And when I try and teach them the business, they realize how much work is involved, and then they don't want to do it no more, and then they start making excuses, right? And just to give you like a quick example, I have a friend here who just recently had a baby and came up to me and said, hey, teach me how to be a reseller. I just had a baby. I need some more money. I was trying to teach him how to be a reseller, and eventually, within a week, he was like, he decided this wasn't meant for him, and he started hiding behind his daughter, basically saying, oh man, I can't go today because I gotta watch my daughter. I can't get a babysitter and stuff like that, which was all BS, because he was posting pictures of himself on Facebook, going to bars, the same day that he was supposed to be watching his daughter. And I went up to him and I said, look, if you don't want to do this, that's fine. But just don't make excuses, okay? Just, it's not meant for you. So the best advice I can give is don't make excuses and just go out there and, just grind. It's not gonna, you're gonna have your ups and downs, but eventually, once you start educating yourself and learn from your mistakes, trust me, that you will succeed in this business.
Great words of advice. And so, in closing, one of your greatest boosts of morale that you sort of shared with the community is sort of your pet dog there. And so, could you talk a little bit more about how that sort of helped you along in reselling, how your pet sort of helped you along?
Could you repeat that question?
Okay, so in the reselling community, one of the things you sort of shared with us is that, your pet has sort of been, like your number one helper, your friend that helps you, with morale, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk more about that and camaraderie in reselling? Because sometimes it can sort of be a lonely venture.
Oh yeah. If you have a family member who's willing to help, I highly recommend. It doesn't have to be a family member. It could be a friend. But if you can somehow get someone to help you, that'd be great, because you guys can motivate each other. If there's a day when you don't want to go out and source, it's you guys can kind of feed off each other. And a good example of me is I have a brother. I have an older brother who's actually unemployed right now. So I approached them and said, "Look, if you move back home with me and help me with the business, we can help motivate each other. We can scale the business to where we want to be, and hopefully, reach that goal in 5 years that I talked about." So yeah, I mean, whether it's a friend or a family member, try and get someone to help out, because I'm telling you, you guys will motivate each other. The energy that you guys provide each other, it'll work. I guarantee it. And plus, it's just always good to have that extra set of eyes, because when you're out there sourcing, you can't find everything on your own. So it's always good to have a second set of eyes.
Great words from advice from an inspirational reseller. Thank you very much, Retro.
Thank you.
If you would like to watch any more podcasts from StopListing, just go to stoplisting.com/podcast. Thank you for joining today.